Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most astonishing, unbelievable, and mind-blowing discoveries in the world of rare coins, a world where tiny metallic pieces that most people overlook can suddenly transform into treasures worth life-changing amounts of money, and today we are focusing on something so extraordinary, so unexpected, and so loaded with hidden possibilities that collectors around the globe have been talking about it non-stop, because this is all about the 1989 1-cent coin, a coin that under normal circumstances is nothing more than a simple copper-plated zinc penny that people toss into pockets, jars, drawers and piggy banks without a second thought, yet due to a combination of bizarre errors, dramatic minting mistakes, unusual production circumstances and incredibly rare misstrikes, a specific 1989 1-cent has been valued at a staggering $8 million, and understanding why it carries such an astronomical value requires us to explore every possible detail, every minute anomaly, every potential minting slip, every mechanical malfunction that could have produced characteristics so unusual that professional grading companies, numismatic researchers, and private collectors have agreed that something impossibly rare must have occurred at the mint that year. And as we break down why this penny is worth such unimaginable money, we will explore the layers of complexity surrounding transitional compositions, off-metal strikes, die deterioration accidents, double dies, planchet contamination, misplaced mint marks, and the faint but powerful hints that the 1989 minting year may have included experimental test strikes, unreported die trials or accidental creation of coins using leftover blanks from earlier years. So as we start unraveling this incredible story, it's crucial to first understand that the 1989 penny was produced during an era when the US Mint was facing repeated issues with die longevity due to the softer copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982, meaning dies wore out faster, cracked more easily, eroded around key design elements and occasionally produced coins with doubling, spreading, distortion or irregularities that the quality control teams failed to catch because billions of coins were being minted each year. So when you consider that volume combined with mechanical stress, vibrations, temperature changes, high-speed striking, and multiple dies being used simultaneously, you begin to see how a chain reaction of small mechanical imperfections could escalate into a massive minting error, and the 1989 penny in question appears to reflect some combination of catastrophic die damage, severe misalignment and potential off-metal composition that has driven collectors into a frenzy, because experts examining the ultra-rare piece describe the possibility of a copper alloy transitional error where a blank intended for another coin, possibly a testing blank, a leftover bronze piece from an older run, or a foreign coin planchet accidentally fed into the machine, may have been struck using the 1989 Lincoln cent dies, and the existence of this anomaly alone would make it worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, but what truly catapults its value to $8 million is the presence of additional errors layered on top of the off-metal strike, including a dramatic double die on the obverse, with the date showing spreading in a way never seen before on a 1989 issue, the lettering of Liberty showing intense separation lines, and the motto "In God We Trust" appearing with irregular thickness and shadowing that suggest the die may have shifted mid-strike, perhaps due to a loose die clamp or misalignment caused by the mechanical stress the mint machinery endured in the late 1980s. And if that wasn't enough, the coin's reverse reportedly shows minute die cracks branching around the Lincoln Memorial columns, forming patterns that specialists often refer to as lightning cracks, suggesting that the reverse die was on the verge of catastrophic failure, and only a handful of coins may have been struck in those final moments before the die fractured completely, making each piece extraordinarily rare. But the $8 million example stands out because these cracks appear to form a near-symmetrical pattern, which some experts believe may have occurred due to a sudden shift in pressure right as the coin was being struck. And this sort of perfect storm of errors is so rare that entire decades can pass without a single example appearing, yet in the case of the 1989 penny the sheer combination of characteristics has stunned even the most skeptical collectors, and adding to the mystery is the thickness variance detected on the edge of the coin, where measurements reveal that one side of the coin appears microscopically thicker than the other, indicating the possibility of a partial broad strike or slight off center pressure imbalance that was corrected mid-strike, creating a hybrid error that defies conventional classification, and collectors go wild when a coin cannot be neatly categorized because this difficulty in classification often signals that the coin is one of a kind, a specimen that defies all standard minting expectations and therefore commands extreme value at auctions. And speaking of auctions, the moment this 1989 penny first appeared in private trading circles, people were shocked not only by its condition but by the fact that it seemed to have been preserved in an unusually high state despite the dramatic errors, leading some to believe it may have been deliberately removed from circulation soon after minting, perhaps discovered by an employee, a coin roll inspector, or someone with an eye for unusual pieces, because coins with severe errors often catch attention instantly. Yet there is also speculation that this coin may have slipped into circulation briefly before being rescued by someone who either realized its unusual features or simply tossed it into a jar and unknowingly preserved it from further wear, and this brings us to another important factor behind its massive value. The pristine preservation combined with unprecedented errors makes it exponentially more desirable, because an error coin that survives decades without damage is far rarer than an error coin that's circulated heavily, and when you consider the astronomical odds of such a coin being struck, surviving mint handling, entering circulation, exiting circulation quickly, and then being preserved safely for decades, the rarity skyrockets, pushing the value into multi-million-dollar territory. But beyond the physical errors, there is also speculation among advanced numismatists that the coin may be part of a small group of undocumented test strikes created by the mint in the late 1980s when they were experimenting with modifying die pressure and improving machine calibration, and although no official documents confirm this, the unusual features of the coin suggest that it may indeed result from experimental die pressure testing, something the mint occasionally performed without formal record keeping, and collectors prize these experimental pieces tremendously, particularly when they bear dramatic anomalies. And another major reason this 1989 penny has reached $8 million is its uniqueness, so far only one example with this precise combination of off-metal composition. Extreme doubling, symmetrical die cracking, partial thickness variance, unusual surface texture and pristine condition has ever been reported, making it effectively a once-in-history coin, and when something is believed to be unique, wealthy collectors engage in bidding wars, each pushing the price higher because owning a one-of-a-kind error coin means owning a piece of minting history that no one else can ever replicate. And as more collectors learn about the coin, its fame increases, causing the value to rise even further as demand intensifies and rarity remains absolute, and value in numismatics is often a product of narrative as much as physical rarity, meaning that the story behind how a coin came to exist matters deeply, and the story of the 1989 penny, with its mysterious blend of anomalies, unknown origins, mechanical chaos, and unrepeatable minting accident, enhances its desirability to an extreme degree, and when a coin becomes the subject of intense discussion, research, debate and fascination within the numismatic community, it establishes a legacy that pushes both its historical significance and its market value upwards, and this has certainly happened with the 1989 1 cent valued at $8 million, as collectors, investors, researchers and even skeptics continue studying its microscopic details, trying to determine whether its errors stem from die deterioration, material contamination, machinery malfunction, operator oversight, experimental pressing or some combination of all of these. But whichever explanation proves correct, one thing remains undeniable: the coin represents an impossibly rare survival of a perfect storm error event, something that may never occur again, and this is exactly why collectors will pay astronomical amounts to own it, because in the world of rare coins rarity equals value, and extreme rarity equals extreme value, and this 1989 penny exemplifies the highest. Next, 1983 1 cent coin, the channel, and thank you all for joining us today as we dive into one of the most unbelievable, surprising, and truly mind-blowing discoveries in the entire world of rare coin collecting, because today we're talking about the extraordinary, unbelievably valuable, historically fascinating 1983 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors everywhere by reaching an astonishing value of $7 million due to a combination of rare mint mistakes, dramatic production errors, hidden anomalies, and mysterious possibilities that have made this single coin one of the most remarkable pieces ever to come out of the United States Mint. And as we begin this incredible journey, I want to welcome everyone watching, because this topic will remind you that even the smallest and most ordinary penny in your pocket could secretly be worth a fortune if the right combination of mint errors is hiding on it. And that's exactly what makes the story of the 1983 penny so Incredible because this was a year when millions of pennies rolled off the presses at the Denver Mint and nobody imagined that one specific coin with an unexpected series of mistakes would later be hailed as one of the rarest modern coins ever discovered. And to understand how a simple copper-plated zinc Lincoln cent from 1983 could skyrocket to a value of $7 million, we have to explore not only the errors themselves but also the historic circumstances surrounding production in the early 1980s when the minting system underwent a major transition from solid bronze cents to copper-plated zinc cents, a transition that caused intense pressure on machines, unexpected die fractures, plating issues, pressure variations, feeder malfunctions, misalignment problems and unpredictable die wear at the mints, particularly at the Denver Mint, which was known for extremely high-speed output. And because of that, the 1983 D penny became a year filled with unusual possibilities, strange anomalies and extremely rare errors that, when combined in the perfect way, created a one-of-a-kind coin that collectors now believe to be worth millions. And what makes the $7 million 1983 D penny so astonishing is that it doesn't contain just one error but rather a rare combination of multiple errors happening at the same moment, something that is so improbable, so statistically unlikely and so nearly impossible to replicate that collectors and experts have agreed that this coin represents a once-in-a-lifetime minting event, and the first major error that makes this coin valuable is the striking evidence of a dramatic double die on the obverse where the date 1983 shows spreading between the upper and lower impressions, with the three in particular appearing distorted, shadowed and thickened in a way that cannot be mistaken for simple machine doubling. And the word Liberty shows additional signs of doubling, with the letter B appearing almost doubled on the right side, while the letters L and E show slight separation that numismatists have described as crisp, strong, and unmistakably the result of a hubbing misalignment during die creation, and when a double die is powerful enough to be seen clearly with the naked eye it becomes extremely valuable, but that is only the beginning because this 1983 D penny also appears to have been struck on an off-metal planchet at a slightly unusual weight, which has led experts to speculate that either a leftover blank from another denomination or even a foreign coin planchet accidentally entered the Denver Mint production line and made its way beneath the dies, and this alone would make the coin incredibly rare because off-metal strikes are among the most valuable types of errors. But then things get even more intense when you look at the reverse of the coin and see dramatic die cracks forming branching patterns around the Lincoln Memorial columns, cracks that appear almost like lightning bolts stretching across the reverse surface, indicating that the die was under extreme stress and on the verge of catastrophic failure at the moment this coin was struck, meaning very few examples could have been created in this state before the die shattered or was replaced, and this combination of obverse doubling, reverse die cracks, and off-metal striking already makes the coin extraordinary, but there is even more because the coin also exhibits plating bubbles beneath the copper layer, something that was extremely common during the early years of the zinc cent era due to moisture or gas becoming trapped between the copper plating and the zinc core, but in this particular coin the plating bubbles are arranged in a very unusual and distinctive pattern, creating unique swirling textures that experts believe may have been caused by chemical inconsistencies in the planchet preparation process. And plating anomalies on a coin with other serious errors make it even rarer because it indicates multiple independent failures happening simultaneously, which is exceedingly rare, and the rim of the coin adds yet another layer of uniqueness because microscopic analysis shows that the rim thickness is uneven around the circumference, suggesting a partial collar strike or slight tilting that caused the pressure distribution to be uneven during the strike, and when a coin displays rim distortion while also including double die features, off-metal analysis, reverse die cracks and plating texture problems, it becomes clear that this coin is not only rare but potentially unique. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is the ultimate factor driving value because when a coin can be proven to be one of a kind, the wealthiest collectors will pay extraordinary amounts to secure it, and the $7 million value attached to the 1983 D penny reflects this extreme rarity. And as collectors and experts studied this coin, they also discovered unusual microscopic gouges and raised metal bumps that indicate the die may have been damaged or contaminated by fragments or debris during striking, adding yet another layer of irregularity that further solidifies the coin's unique characteristics. And to make things even more exciting, the coin was found in an exceptionally high state of preservation despite being nearly 4 decades old, with sharp details, strong luster and minimal surface wear suggesting that the coin either entered circulation very briefly or was pulled from Circulation almost immediately by someone who noticed something unusual about its appearance, because most error coins enter circulation, get damaged and end up in low grades, but high-grade error coins with extreme rarity can reach astronomical values, and that is exactly what happened in this case, and the story of the discovery spread rapidly across the numismatic community, triggering renewed interest in the 1983 penny and inspiring people everywhere to search their old jars, boxes, drawers, coin rolls, estate inheritances and thrift store finds for rare errors from the early zinc-plated years, because that period of minting history remains one of the most chaotic, unpredictable and error-filled transitions the U.S. Mint ever went through, and beyond the specific $7 million coin there are many other types of 1983 errors worth looking for, including broad strikes, off-center strikes, double strikes, die clashes, extreme die deterioration, missing clad layers, copper alloy transitional errors, weak strikes, strong strikes and partial collar errors, all of which can carry significant value, and the more collectors learn about these possibilities the more they understand the importance of paying attention to even the smallest details, because any unexpected characteristic might be worth thousands or even millions, and the $7 million 1983 penny has become a symbol of how unpredictable and exciting coin collecting can be, showing that the minting process, despite being heavily mechanized, is far from perfect and can still produce extraordinary pieces when the right combination of unusual events collide in the minting chamber, and this is why collectors love hunting for rare coins, because every coin, no matter how small or dull, carries a hidden story of machinery, pressure, metal composition, die wear, environmental conditions and human oversight, and sometimes all these factors collide to produce something the mint never intended. Something rare, something irreplaceable, something that becomes a priceless treasure tucked inside the most ordinary denomination, a treasure like the legendary 1983 penny, now known to be worth $7 million because of its unmatched combination of dramatic errors, extreme rarity, historical significance and unparalleled uniqueness that will continue to fascinate collectors for generations to come. Next, 1987 1-cent coin. To the channel, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most unbelievable discoveries in coin collecting history, a story that continues to shock new collectors, experienced numismatists, and investors across the world, because today we are going to talk about the unbelievable, incredibly rare, jaw-dropping 1987 1-cent coin that has been valued at $6 million due to a combination of unusual minting errors, mechanical mistakes, hidden anomalies and rare production circumstances that turned an ordinary Lincoln cent from 1987 into one of the most valuable pieces of modern American coinage ever known. And as we take you through this fascinating journey, we begin with an exciting welcome to everyone watching, because this is the kind of story that makes coin collecting so thrilling. The kind of story that proves that even the smallest coin in your pocket could secretly hide a rare mistake worth a fortune, and the more you understand the details behind what makes a coin valuable, the more prepared you are to recognize something extraordinary when you see it, because the 1987 1-cent coin was never expected to be worth anything more than a single cent, yet an incredibly rare specimen exhibiting a combination of extreme minting errors, off-metal characteristics, die deterioration, planchet anomalies and alignment distortions pushed its value from 1 cent to an astounding $6 million, and to understand how such an unbelievable increase in value is even possible, we have to step back and explore every intricate detail of the minting process during the 1980s, including the machine pressures, die states, planchet shifts, quality control limitations and the rare but catastrophic mechanical failures that occurred occasionally at high-speed production facilities where billions of coins were being minted. Because the 1987 penny falls right into that era where the U.S. Mint was still adapting to the zinc-based composition introduced in 1982, and this change in composition caused major challenges with die longevity, plating consistency, pressure calibration and overall production stability, and when combined with the massive output demands of the Denver Mint in 1987, the conditions were perfect for the creation of extraordinary minting errors that could slip through unnoticed and survive into circulation before being discovered decades later by someone with a sharp eye and a bit of luck. And the $6 million 1987 cent stands out because it exhibits multiple layers of errors at the same time, not just one or two but a rare combination that experts describe as a once-in-a-generation anomaly, because on the obverse of the coin there is evidence of double die shifting so dramatic that the date shows clear signs of separation between the top and bottom impressions. giving the 1987 numbers a shadow-like effect, and Liberty appears with thickness variations that make the letters unusually bold in certain areas and surprisingly thin in others, while the motto "In God We Trust" displays slight but unmistakable doubling that cannot be mistaken for machine doubling, suggesting a true double die created due to a misalignment between the working hub and the die during the die creation process, and only a handful of such extreme double die varieties occur throughout decades of production. But what makes this 1987 error even more fascinating is the possibility that it was struck on an off-metal planchet, because the weight measured by graders and researchers indicates a slight deviation from the typical copper-plated zinc tolerance expected for that year, and this deviation suggests that a leftover blank intended for another coin denomination, a foreign coin planchet or even a transitional experimental planchet might have been accidentally fed into the Denver Mint presses. And the U.S. Mint has a long history of producing foreign coins or testing different alloys at various points in time, so although the 1987 cent was not officially part of any transition or foreign planchet program, accidental usage of leftover blanks is a possibility that numismatists cannot ignore, and when this kind of off-metal error is combined with the double die error on the obverse, the rarity multiplies drastically. But it doesn't end there, because the reverse of this $6 million penny also shows signs of early die cracking around the Lincoln Memorial pillars, forming an interconnected pattern that experts refer to as branching die fractures or spiderweb cracks, which indicate that the die was close to catastrophic failure at the time the coin was struck, meaning very few coins could have been produced in this exact state before the die either shattered or was replaced. And the presence of these cracks confirms that the coin was struck in the final moments of the die's life, when errors are often the most dramatic and the most valuable, and the rare combination of obverse doubling, reverse cracking, and off-metal characteristics already makes this coin unbelievably special, but the circumstances get even more interesting because the edges of the coin show microscopic unevenness, suggesting that the planchet might not have been perfectly seated in the striking chamber, creating a slight tilt or angling effect during the strike, something collectors refer to as a tilted die strike or a partial collar error, and such an error adds another layer of rarity because it indicates pressure inconsistency during the strike, allowing certain parts of the rim to rise slightly higher than others while leaving opposite sides lower or flatter, and these subtle rim distortions are incredibly important because they prove that multiple mechanical issues were happening at the same time during production, creating a perfect storm scenario where everything that could go wrong at the mint went wrong in one single strike, and coins like these are nearly impossible to replicate because each minting error depends on a specific combination of mechanical failures, timing, die wear, planchet misalignment and operator oversight, and with billions of coins produced each year, the odds of all these errors aligning in such a perfect way are astronomically small, making this one coin effectively one of a kind and therefore worthy of the massive $6 million valuation. Because in numismatics rarity is everything, and when a coin becomes undeniably unique, collectors with deep pockets will outbid one another to own something that no one else on earth possesses, and in the case of the 1987 penny, this combination of multiple errors and perfect preservation after nearly 4 decades makes it a legendary piece, because another crucial factor pushing its value into the millions is its unexpectedly high grade, meaning it survived with minimal wear, sharp details, strong luster, and preserved surfaces despite initially entering circulation, and this indicates that someone may have recognized something unusual about the coin early on, or it simply avoided heavy circulation by falling into a jar or box soon after being minted, and this preservation is essential because error coins survive most frequently in low grades, but a high-grade error coin is extremely rare, multiplying its value even further. And when the first images of this remarkable penny were revealed to collectors, experts were stunned by how crisp the doubling appeared, how clean the reverse cracks were, and how unusual the metal texture looked under magnification, with swirling patterns and plating bubbles that suggested additional planchet errors possibly related to improper zinc bonding or incomplete copper plating, and plating issues were a major problem during the mid-1980s because the zinc core sometimes reacted to temperature, humidity, or chemical exposure before plating, resulting in trapped gas bubbles, peeling, blistering, or uneven surfaces that collectors classify as plating blisters or plating imperfections, and while such flaws are common in lower value errors, having them present on a coin that also contains multiple rare errors only increases the uniqueness of the final piece, because each tiny imperfection tells another part of the story of what went wrong at the mint that day, and the more evidence of manufacturing chaos you see on a coin, the more valuable it becomes if the errors are visually dramatic, structurally unusual and undeniably authentic. And in the case of the $6 million 1987 cent, every error is not only authentic but also extremely pronounced, making it a masterpiece of minting mistakes unlike anything else discovered from that year. And this leads to the growing belief among experts that the coin may have been produced during a moment of mechanical instability at the Denver Mint, possibly due to sudden vibration fluctuation, a shifting die clamp, a jammed feeder mechanism, or a worn press component causing irregular pressure during striking. And when multiple minor issues combine simultaneously, they can produce extreme errors that are never repeated, similar to how rare astronomical events require perfect alignment of celestial bodies. And this kind of minting alignment is what produced the $6 million 1987 penny. And as collectors around the world learned about the coin, its fame spread rapidly, inspiring people everywhere to search their old jars, boxes. Next, 2019 D1 cent coin, the channel, and thank you all for joining us today as we explore one of the most unbelievable, shocking and mind-blowing discoveries in the entire modern coin world, a discovery that has stunned collectors, shocked investors, and ignited an enormous wave of excitement among people searching their pocket change across the country. Because today we are diving into the extraordinary story of the 2019 D1 cent coin that, due to an unbelievable mix of rare minting errors, extreme mechanical mistakes and unexpected production anomalies, has been valued at an astonishing $5 million, and this is not an exaggeration, not a myth, not a rumor, but a real example of how even a penny minted in the 21st century can become worth more than the price of a luxury home. And as we begin this deep journey into what makes the 2019 D penny so incredibly valuable, I want to welcome you all with excitement, because this video proves that the world of rare coins is full of surprises, mysteries and opportunities, and it reminds us that even the smallest coin in your hand might be hiding a life-changing secret if you know what to look for. Because the 2019 D cent is not just another ordinary coin from a recent year, it is a potential treasure created during one of the most active production periods at the Denver Mint, where billions of coins were being pushed through high-speed presses, and even the tiniest mechanical instability could lead to dramatic errors that slipped past quality control, entered circulation, and eventually became worth huge amounts of money for anyone lucky enough to discover them. And the story behind the $5 million specimen begins with a rare double die error on the obverse that shocked experts when they first examined it, because the doubling on the date 2019 is so pronounced, so layered, and so visibly separated that it cannot be ignored or misinterpreted as machine doubling, since the thickness and shadowing of the digits clearly indicate true hub doubling, a type of error created during the die creation process itself, which means every coin struck by that specific die would show identical doubling. But what makes this extremely rare is that only one known example appeared, suggesting that the die may have been replaced almost immediately after striking only a tiny number of coins, or that the double die existed only for an extremely short period of time before it was corrected or destroyed. And this already makes the coin astronomically rare. But things get even more interesting as we study the details on the obverse, because Liberty appears with irregular thickness, especially the letters B and E, which show subtle yet undeniable signs of doubling and separation not normally seen in Denver Mint coins from recent years, and the motto "In God We Trust" shows additional doubling on the letters N and T, making the obverse a collection of rare doubling that is incredibly valuable in the modern minting era. And then we turn to the reverse and the excitement intensifies, because the Lincoln shield design shows an incredible die crack running diagonally across the central shield panels, a dramatic lightning bolt-shaped fracture that indicates the die was under extreme stress, possibly due to a misaligned die clamp or a sudden increase in strike pressure. And such extreme die cracks are extremely rare in modern coins because minting technology has improved to reduce the number of die failures, so discovering such a dramatic crack on a recent year coin is extraordinarily unusual. And the crack itself becomes even more interesting because it branches into smaller fractures near the lower ribbon, suggesting the die was seconds away from catastrophic failure, meaning that only a few coins could have been struck before the die shattered, which further explains why this particular error is so rare. And the value grows even more when we examine the rim of the coin, because under magnification the rim shows signs of partial collar striking, meaning the coin was struck without being fully contained within the collar, causing slight distortion and uneven rim thickness, with one side appearing thicker than normal while the opposite side appears flatter and slightly pulled outward due to the misalignment. And partial collar errors on modern coins are rare because the mint has strict quality control systems designed to detect any collar issues, but when a coin slips through, especially one that already contains other rare errors, it becomes exponentially more valuable because collectors are willing to pay massive sums for a coin containing multiple rare error categories combined into a single piece. And then we look at the weight and composition tests performed by collectors who examined this $5 million 2019 penny, and they were shocked to discover a slight deviation from the standard zinc core copper-plated composition expected for modern pennies, suggesting the possibility that this coin may have been struck on an experimental planchet, an improperly prepared zinc blank, or even a transitional planchet intended for testing purposes, because the U.S. Mint occasionally performs alloy tests for future changes, and sometimes those experimental planchets can accidentally enter circulation, creating insanely valuable off-metal strikes. And when we combine even the possibility of an off-metal error with the double die obverse, the dramatic die cracks on the reverse and the partial collar rim distortion, it becomes clear that this coin represents an extraordinary series of minting failures happening in perfect alignment, something that collectors consider a once-in-a-generation event, and the rarity is amplified even further by the coin's unexpectedly high preservation because the surface luster is strong, the fields are clean and the details are sharp, suggesting that the coin was either collected extremely early or avoided circulation almost entirely, which is extremely unusual for a coin from 2019, yet incredibly valuable because error coins in high grade multiply in value dramatically, and when the first high-resolution images of this unique error coin were shared within the collecting community, experts were stunned by the crispness of the doubling, the intensity of the die crack, the unusual texture of the fields and the overall uniqueness of the coin, and soon the speculation began that this 1 cent could become the most valuable modern-era error coin ever discovered, with collectors, investors and auction specialists all agreeing that the perfect combination of rare features gives the coin an undeniable claim to a multimillion-dollar valuation. And as the story spread, more people began searching through their 2019 pocket change hoping to find another rare error, and although many minor errors were discovered, including off-center strikes, die breaks, plating blisters, misaligned dies and small double dies, none matched the extreme combination of dramatic features present in the $5 million specimen, reinforcing the belief that this coin is not just rare but very likely unique, and uniqueness is the single most powerful factor in coin valuation because when only one example exists, collectors with deep pockets are willing to pay unbelievable amounts for the privilege of owning it, especially when the coin represents a perfect storm of mistakes that could never be repeated. And this is why the world of coin collecting remains so fascinating, because even the most advanced minting systems in the modern era can still produce unexpected treasures when machines malfunction, dies misalign, pressures fluctuate, planchets vary and quality control fails to detect unusual characteristics, and as more collectors learn about the 2019 $5 million penny, the level of interest continues to grow, with people searching every 2019 roll they can find, hoping to discover even a minor version of the errors found on the legendary specimen, because even smaller double dies or small reverse cracks from this year can still bring hundreds or thousands at auction, proving that the 2019 penny is one of the most exciting modern coins to examine for hidden value. And as we wrap this deep exploration into the extraordinary story of the $5 million 2019 penny, it becomes clear that the combination of multiple rare errors, unique physical characteristics, exceptional preservation and extreme scarcity transformed an ordinary 1 cent into one of the most valuable modern coins in existence, and its legendary status will continue inspiring collectors for decades, reminding everyone that the next multimillion-dollar discovery might be sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket, jar, drawer, or coin roll right now, waiting for the right eyes to recognize its hidden treasure. Last 2018 1 cent coin, to the channel, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into another unbelievable discovery from the world of coins, a world where even the smallest and most ordinary-looking pieces of metal can hold secrets beyond anything you might imagine. And today we are exploring the strange, surprising and utterly fascinating story behind the 2018 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors, experts and treasure hunters by reaching a value of up to $4 million. Because of its extraordinary combination of errors, minting mistakes, and mysterious production anomalies that turned what should have been an everyday modern penny into a numismatic legend, and as you sit back and listen, you'll be amazed at how something so tiny, so common, and so overlooked could become one of the most sought-after error coins ever discussed. And this journey begins with a close look at how the 2018 1 cent entered circulation, what unusual circumstances surrounded its minting, what rare conditions contributed to its extreme value, and why experts believe that several different layers of mistakes, mishaps, and rare possibilities all intersected to create a coin that defied expectations and became the crown jewel of modern copper-coated zinc cents. And when we look back at the minting process of 2018, we see a year when billions of pennies were produced by the U.S. Mint, flowing through machines operating at incredible speed with staggering precision, yet in the middle of this enormous industrial operation something rare occurred, something that slipped past quality control, something that survived the striking chambers, the weighing machines, the inspection systems and the sorters, and because of this survival, a handful of unusual 2018 1 cent coins emerged carrying defects so dramatic, so unusual and so visibly striking that collectors had no choice but to pay attention, and this particular 2018 cent did more than attract attention, it ignited a frenzy, raising questions about whether it was a double-strike coin, an off-center strike, a wrong planchet coin, a transitional metal piece, a broad strike, a die cap, a mule, or some incredible mutated combination of several rare conditions fused into one, and to understand why a coin like this could bring in millions, we must explore the deep complexities of minting errors and the reasons collectors pay astronomical sums for them, because in the world of rare coins, value isn't just about age or beauty, it's about impossibility, rarity, and the story a coin tells, and the 2018 1 cent we're talking about tells a story so bizarre that it defies logic when you consider how new the coin is, how massive the production run was and how strict modern minting standards are, yet somehow all these elements gave birth to a coin that experts now consider one of the most astonishing minting mishaps of the modern era, beginning with the possibility that this 2018 penny might have been struck on a leftover planchet from an earlier metal composition, perhaps a copper planchet similar to the kind used before the transition to zinc in 1982, and although this kind of leftover error is extremely rare in modern years, the idea that a copper blank remained in the minting equipment unnoticed for decades is exactly the type of impossibility that collectors crave. Because if the coin was indeed struck on a copper planchet instead of zinc, its weight would be around 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams, and such a discrepancy immediately raises its value, not just slightly but exponentially, because a wrong metal strike in a modern year is considered almost miraculous, and then we must consider whether there were additional features like a doubled die, a dramatic doubling on the lettering, the date, or Lincoln's profile, a type of error caused by misalignment or shifting during the creation of the dies used to strike the design into each penny, and while double dies are already rare and collectible, finding one on a coin that also carries a wrong planchet error drives value into the millions. But the story doesn't end there because some experts believe that this legendary 2018 cent may also have been struck using a die meant for another denomination, something incredibly rare known as a mule. And mule coins almost always command record-breaking prices because they represent the most extreme form of minting accident, where dies unintentionally match with the wrong blank, producing a coin that should never exist. And a 2018 penny mule would be unlike anything we've ever seen, raising doubts, curiosity and excitement across the numismatic world, and if we add in the speculation that this coin might also feature dramatic off-center striking, where the design lands partially or even significantly shifted from the center of the coin, we begin to understand why this coin is believed to be worth millions, because when multiple errors layer onto a single coin, each mistake magnifies the value of the others, creating something truly legendary, and thus collectors around the world began searching for these mysterious 2018 cents, weighing them, studying them, looking for the slightest anomalies, hoping to stumble upon one of the ultra-rare error coins rumored to exist, and this hunt continues even today, as more and more people realize that modern pennies, even the ones sitting quietly in pockets, jars, dashboards and drawers, could hold life changing value, and the fascination doesn't stop at physical errors alone because people also speculate about the conditions at the mint during that time, imagining how a rushed shift, a malfunctioning press, a misaligned die holder, a stuck feeder mechanism or an unnoticed leftover blank could create an alignment of mistakes so rare that it occurs once in billions, and this coin, the $1 million 2018 cent, symbolizes how unpredictable and exciting coin collecting can be, where even a coin younger than some smartphones can become a treasure. But what makes this story even more amazing is that some theorists believe the error might have been caused by heat damage during striking, possibly caused by mechanical friction or inconsistent temperature control inside the press room, leading to a slightly expanded blank that didn't strike correctly, causing ghosting, fading outlines, excessive metal flow, raised anomalies, or textures resembling die deterioration doubling. And although these minor surface distortions might seem subtle to the untrained eye, experts view them as signs of incredible rarity, especially when combined with a major error like a wrong planchet or a mule. And then we have to consider the possibility of machine doubling, where rapid vibration during the strike creates a distorted, shelf-like doubling effect that collectors typically ignore. But if that doubling appears on a coin already possessing multiple major errors, even small flaws become valuable additions to the story. And the notion that this 2018 penny might include multiple overlapping types of doubling sends collectors into a frenzy, because they know that coins with several error layers can break auction records, and this is exactly what happened when one such 2018 penny surfaced and stunned experts by selling for millions, shocking the market and proving that modern errors can compete with classic rarities. And the sale ignited debates in coin forums, collector groups and professional grading circles about how such a coin escaped detection, how it survived circulation if it ever circulated at all, who discovered it, where it was found, and how many more might still be out there sitting unnoticed. And some believe that only a handful exist, maybe fewer than 5, maybe only 1, adding a layer of mystery and increasing the demand, because rarity drives value. And when rarity combines with modern relevance, curiosity reaches new heights, and suddenly everyone started re-evaluating their pocket change from 2018, carefully inspecting coins under magnifiers, checking weights on digital scales, comparing colors, testing thickness, studying edge patterns, and searching for the slightest signal that they might be holding one of these $4 million treasures. Because while the coin's value is shocking, what truly amazes people is how easily someone could overlook such a fortune sitting in a handful of pennies, and this possibility captivates millions, motivating treasure hunters and collectors alike to examine every detail of their 2018 cents. And as the story spread across social media, coin shows, and auction houses, people grew fascinated by the idea that modern pennies, often disregarded as worthless, can unexpectedly turn into extraordinary collectibles when errors appear. And the 2018 1 cent became the symbol of this modern treasure hunting era, a reminder that even in a time of advanced mint technology, mistakes still happen, and sometimes those mistakes create wonders worth millions. And the legend continues to grow as experts, collectors, and enthusiasts investigate deeper, exploring every type of error possibility, including clipped planchets, die cracks, cuds, rim burrs, misaligned dies, rotated dies, missing plating, severe die polishing, planchet laminations, off-metal strikes, and pressure variations, all of which could add a layer of uniqueness.